Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. It's so great to see everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to our panel for the AACUC Hall of Fame. So excited to be here today. I have the privilege of moderating this esteemed panel today, and we've really gathered here to really talk about our honorees. We'll talk a little bit around why their reactions to being nominated, how they're feeling about this great honor, and we'll talk about a few other things. But I'm going to dive right in and introduce our panelists and give each of them just a couple moments to give a brief introduction on each of themselves, and then we will dive right into our questions today. So we will start with uh, John Bradicus, and if you want to give your introduction, once again, congratulations and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the honor. So I'm John Bradicus. I'm the president of the Maryland and DC Credit Union Association. I've been involved in credit unions for the last 35 years. So, and the last 12 plus out here in Maryland, coming from the Midwest. So kind of born in Indiana. So Karen and those others that are on the call, Indiana and Illinois have been home.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations again. So excited to have you as an honoree. And I'm located in Indianapolis, and so excited to have you as a part of this. And then we'll go right over to Karen, who is also an Indiana member.
Thank you, Whitney. Hi, I'm Karen Madry, President and CEO of Athena Federal Credit Union, located in a little rural town called Marion, Indiana. And I have been in the credit union movement actively for almost 20 years, started as a board member before joining a credit union as an employee, and over 20 years of banking experience.
Wonderful. Thank you, Karen. And once again, congratulations.
Yeah.
Next, we will go over to Mr. Maurice Dawkins.
Good afternoon, everyone. Maurice Dawkins here from American Spirit Federal Credit Union. I'm the president and CEO. I've been with the credit union movement for over 20 years. Started when I was very young, probably out of kindergarten, something like that.
Yes.
But I'm loving it. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations again to you as well. And last but not least, we will go over to Mr. Anthony Taylor.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Anthony Taylor. I've been in the credit. I joined affiliated with the credit union in 1972. I became actively involved in being part of the movement in 2003. I've held several positions as board development committee person, supervisory committee, treasurer, vice chair, and board chair. I'm currently now a board member.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to you as well. As you can see with our esteemed members of the panel today, that we have a lot of really just truly remarkable experience. And I'm so proud to be a part of AACUC and to be able to honor all of you as Hall of Fame members. We'll go ahead and dive right into our first question. And I think this is one that would be great to hear each one of you talk a little bit about. What was your first impression when you heard that you were nominated and going to be in the African American Credit Union Coalition's Hall of Fame? Does anyone want to start? Karen, do you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. My first reaction was shock. It is definitely a humbling experience. And it still feels surreal, even though I've known about this for months now. It's hard to believe that I will receive such an esteemed award for doing something that just comes natural and I feel is the right thing to do.
Wow, thank you, Karen. Thank you. John?
So my first reaction when I got the call from my friend Renee was I was speechless. I think just to follow on what Karen said, and for most people that know me, being speechless is usually not a problem I have, but just very humbled knowing those that are being inducted this year and those that have come before us is pretty remarkable.
Absolutely. Thank you, John. Anthony?
Oh, I was absolutely shocked. I went from shock to disbelief. Then, obviously, I'm very humbled to have this opportunity to be part of this great fraternity. When I did not receive the phone call, in fact, I didn't answer the phone call. So the executive assistant from the CN Federal Credit Union called me and said, "Look in your email, you got a letter." When I read that letter, I like to have fainted. So I am absolutely, and I still don't believe it. I won't believe it until March the 5th.
Yes.
But thank you
Which is
so
going to
much.
be,
And I'm so honored to represent my credit union, the San Federal Credit Union, for this wonderful, wonderful honor.
thank you. Wonderful words. Mr. Maurice?
Well, I was shocked and surprised. I call it shock surprise when I received a call from Miss Renee. And the only word that came to mind was, "I don't like the spotlight." And Miss Renee says, "You will get used to it."
Yes,
I,
yes.
I believe Miss Renee was up to something, because I believe she sent a memo out to the entire AACC world to say, whenever you encounter Maurice, let's congratulate it. Let's put a spotlight on it.
Oh, yeah.
This award is it's huge than what I thought it was. It taught me a couple of lessons in life. That what you give out in life, you receive in abundance. And that you will be remembered for how you make people feel and the impact that you have in their life. That's what I learned from this situation. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for those words. I think, when I think about the AAC Hall of Fame, one of the things that comes to mind first is giving people their flowers while they're here. And that is an old term, that many of us have known for our whole lives, but give me my flowers. And I want to say congratulations to all of you, because this is AACUC giving you your flowers. And being able to do that when we're all here, when we're all together, and having that opportunity just to show the appreciation that your work in the credit union movement does not go unnoticed. The difference that each of you has made for individuals, whether they're part of AACUC or making an impact on our communities and membership, is huge. And so just a huge thank you. We are excited to give you your flowers for this event, and we'll kind of walk through now and just talk about a little bit about each of your journeys and how, when you think about coming to this point and having this opportunity and this great honor, how it led there. Who would like to start this one? I'll just open it up.
Oh, go
I'll go
ahead. Oh, go ahead, Maurice.
Uh, so it definitely was a journey. Prior to credit union world, I worked with mutual funds, stocks and bonds, working with Wall Street on a daily basis, and just decided to walk away from it. And pretty much saw an ad in a paper for an accountant at a federal credit union. I was so excited. This is my opportunity, my chance to work for the federal government. Showed up, and I'm like, this is a bank. but during the interview, as I said, I actually applied for a accounting position. And during the interview, the CEO at the time said, "Maurice, you're not a typical accountant. Tell you what, I have another position I would like you to take a look at." So this was a VP of Operations position. So I ended up getting the VP of Operations position, and that was the start of my journey. For the audience out there, anything is possible. I didn't know anything about credit union, about banking. However, I know this opportunity was something that was meant for me to make a positive difference in the life of others. And so I want to thank CUNA Mutual Star and Merit program. I read 72 books within 2 months, from A through Z, tells you everything you need to know about credit union from A through Z. And that's how I get started. Moral of the story, I was promoted to the CEO position less than 2 years at the credit union because I was hungry. I was hungry just to learn, and by impacting the people in my surrounding, empowering the staff, and just have them grow in the position. It was mind-boggling. So the lesson that I learned that I want to just throw out there is to make your work speak for you. Number one, the harder you work, the luckier you're going to get, and it's better to prepare for an opportunity and don't have an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. That's what he taught me. So thank you.
Wow, those are great words. Always being prepared is it's a hard lesson to learn because we've all had those opportunities come up where we feel like we may not be prepared, but that I love what you just said. Thank you, Maurice. I know Karen, you both had jumped on at the same time. I'll pass it over to Karen. Can you tell
Wow.
us about a little bit about your journey?
Yes, I don't know how to follow Maurice, though.
I know.
That's why I wanted to go first, Maurice. So similar, I had worked as an accountant in many different industries before landing in the world of banking back in 2003. And if you remember the times back then, that's when everybody should become a homeowner. And I worked for a bank that was part of that subprime lending group, and it just did not sit well with my soul. I can recall going into one of the higher level executives at the bank and ask, why do we allow people who are not qualified for mortgages to move into these brand new homes with very high price tags when they're not fully educated on what it takes to own a home? They don't understand the financing that they're receiving. We're encouraging them by doing 80-20 splits. And that's when I learned that the banking industry was all about profit. They didn't care about the person. My bank was acquired, which was the best thing that could have happened to me, because when I took that job, I took it saying, hey, it's time for me to settle down and really stay at one place long enough to build some retirement and have a good life for myself in retirement. When the bank was acquired, I opted not to go back to a bank. I just couldn't. I had to find something else. I found my credit union, which I had been a member of, and I knew a little bit about them because I served on the board, so I knew they were different, but I just said, let me try this. And when I went to my credit union, which predominantly served a Hispanic population, and learned that we could make a difference in their life, I knew that this was an industry that I wanted to stay in. So that credit union was a small credit union in Illinois. Eventually we merged. And so as I continued down my journey, I realized that what made this industry special to me was what we could do to help people, how we could change the trajectory of people's lives by educating them on how to manage their finances, teaching them things that you just don't learn in school, by loving on people and caring for them. And I realized that the only way that I could really feel empowered to make this difference in the lives of individuals was to become a CEO of a credit union where I could help mold and shape the path in which it went. So that's how I became a CEO, or thought to seek a CEO's position. So taking that big step from being a CFO to a CEO. And most people who know me know I have a very strong faith base foundation. So I came into this job. I told my staff on the first day that being a CEO does not come with a owner's manual. So I have to rely on my Heavenly Father to help lead and guide me in this. I feel like He brought me to Marion, Indiana for a purpose. The area that I serve is very high poverty, low income individuals, and it truly speaks to my heart. And so I know that being here is no accident. This is the journey that was meant for me from the day I was conceived. And as Maurice says, it just feels good and it feels right to be able to be a beacon of light and hope in someone's life. And especially if you know anything about generational poverty, people that live in a poverty-driven area or a rural area like I live in, generally they struggle to find something to hold on to. So to be able to build an institution where people begin to believe that someone cares about them and that they can come to and trust is definitely a dream come true, and it gives my life meaning and purpose.
Wow, thank you, Karen. I've known you for many years now and just have watched your passion and the way that you give back in so many different ways and the impact you've had. So thank you for those words.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to share their journey?
So I don't want to follow that. Thanks, Karen and Maurice. So my journey, I've always kind of called it the accidental credit union journey. I went to a small school in Indiana. I had my securities licenses and I went to Fort Wayne, Indiana for a job fair to pick a friend up because we were going to go out and celebrate. And as I was waiting for that person, there was a stand for Teachers Credit Union in Indiana. And they said, "Are you here for an interview?" And I said, "No, I'm just waiting to pick someone up." And they said, "Well, we have a management training program." I'm like, "Well, that's great." And she said, "Do you know what a credit union is?" I said, "I have no idea." And "Would you like to sit down and talk?" And I said, "Sure." And 4 weeks later, I was hired as a management trainee and on the teller line, getting my experience as what credit unions are about. And that was the beginning of my credit union journey. And then I did a short stint at a bank, came back for many of the same reasons Karen talked about. It was a family-owned bank and we knew the family, but when you're kind of in those senior management meetings and you're seeing what drives the decision-making process and what priorities are in the decision-making process, right or wrong, and it wasn't for me. And I've been very blessed in my career to have several mentors and be at the right place at the right time. I ran a branch at 24, and then after I got married, I went to a credit union to be the EVP for 3 years. And the woman who was the CEO, after 6 months, came to me and said, "You don't need me. I'm not going to stay for 3 years." She goes, "And I told the board, so you'll take over." So that was a shock. So my journey was a CEO for 10 years. And then at that point, a gentleman by the name of Mike Valentine, who's the CEO at Baxter Credit Union, had reached out to me my first couple of weeks on the job and said, "Hey, love to take you to lunch. I know what it's like to be a young CEO." Became a mentor, a friend, but really someone who, when you watch that style of leadership that kind of transcends all levels in the organization, it reminds you about what you're there to do as a leader. And 10 years later, he just looked at me and said, we had a conversation and it was like, time to come work for me. And so I did that for 5 years before coming here. So that's kind of been my journey. And through all of that, it's been my first expression of the credit union movement was to a legislator. And I remember going down to DC and we were advocating for whatever the bill was. and they just kept reading back banker talking points. And I was so mad because I was young and just competitive. And the question was, I'm like, who gets to dictate who we are? That's not who we are. That's not what we do. That's not, we're set on a set of principles and values, and that's what credit unions are created on. And that really kind of started my passion for the advocacy side of the work on behalf of credit unions, and not letting other people define who we are. And that's probably from my background and my grandparents coming to this country, is you don't let other people define who you are who you are, and you embrace that. So that's how I got to where I am, I think.
Wow, wonderful. I love those words that you just said from your grandparents, like you are who you are. And one of the great things that, we haven't heard from you yet, Anthony, and I'm looking forward to that, is really seeing this opportunity. I have so much gratitude for each of you, and the fact that you've all had different stories on how you made it to the positions that you did, and just reiterating some of the things that each of you have talked about in terms of you can just be you, and you can make it to the position that you would like to be in. Anthony, let's hear a little bit about your journey.
Wow, it's hard to follow that. You should have put me first, and everybody else would have looked so good.
Oh no.
My journey is different from Karen and from John and from Maurice. My journey started as a member of a credit union, and that was so gratifying to become a member of a credit union, because I clearly understand what is meant by people helping people, and to be able to really appreciate that. If you look at the journey, when I first started off in my work life, the only opportunity I had for credit was not at a bank. It was with a finance company. And finance companies started at 24%. You got lucky if you got 18. When I had the opportunity to work at a military base, and there a Ascend Federal Credit Union was there, I immediately became a member. And that is when I understood what people helping people meant. I could go and borrow whatever I could based upon my financial condition, pay a reasonable amount of interest. And it made me feel so good, because I'm borrowing some of my money and some of your money, but I'm paying it back. So I was not from an operational standpoint. I'm more from a governance standpoint. And that opportunity occurred in 2003 when I was selected to be on the board development committee. Throughout my life, anybody that would come to me, and I had the opportunity to work in human resources, so I interact with a lot of people on a day-to-day basis. My message to them when they reported to work on the first day: join the credit union. Join the credit union. My advice to them when they needed financial assistance: go to the credit union. They will help you. People helping people. Then I had the opportunity to get on the governance side, from a board development committee member, supervisory committee member, board member, and then some of the offices that I held, like treasurer, vice chair, chair. Then you can really appreciate what credit unions do. And one of the things that I learned was, let management operate, and you focus on the future. You focus on strategy. You focus on providing a product and services to the members, because it's the members who make up the credit union industry. So my journey has been so rewarding. And to top it off, to be a member of the AACUC Hall of Fame is beyond expression. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Well said. Well said. See, that's the thing when you have four amazing people with amazing journeys. It doesn't matter which order everybody goes in, because we each have our own stories of how we made it to where we are, and the impact that you may not even know that you have on others. So just a huge thank you once again to each of you and the work that you've done to make a difference in our communities and for our members. We've talked a little bit about our stories and how we've reached these different milestones throughout our careers, but can you talk about one or two just core moments that you felt really shaped your decision? I know a few of you touched on it a little bit in when you talked about your stories, but what are some of those things that just really stand out when you think about your career that you want to share with everyone here today? Don't be shy.
I'll go. You know.
Thanks, Karen.
Well, I think as you said, I touched on a big aspect of it when I saw families being put into homes that I knew they could not afford. Again, I was a homeowner. I used to go to the new developments and I would see where you would get incentives to do subprime lending. And that just hurt my heart. But I think another thing that really shaped my desire, my passion, my belief is just the way I grew up. You know, I was raised by a single mom who tried to raise 5 children. You know, I've shared this with many people before. At the height of her career, she made $8,000 a year. My mom never had credit until she retired. And yet she was able to manage. So when I became a young adult and got my first apartment and had children, because my mom had never had credit, and of course things were a little more expensive, she never was able to teach me how to manage my finances. So I learned from the School of Hard Knocks. And while it may be shocking to some, you know, I'm a statistic. You know, I was a single parent, as a single teenage parent, trying to raise a kid. Due to a circumstance in a failed marriage, I had to file bankruptcy. And I think if somebody had just taken the time to teach me things along the way about managing finances, about avoiding pitfalls, some of those things would not be in my history, but they are. And so for what I've learned in life, I just feel that the experiences that I've been through, they were not just experiences for me to keep locked up inside. I think too often we're ashamed of the path that we've journeyed down, as opposed to looking at it as a way to help other people. What were the lessons that we learned? Is there someone else that can benefit from hearing your story? So I'm very open, very transparent. Most people that live here in Marion know my story, probably know too much about me. And I do not care, because I do not believe that it is anything that I'm supposed to keep inside. I want people to see me as being human, as a person who has made mistakes along the way. But I've taken the lessons that I've learned to help propel me to be a better person tomorrow than I was yesterday. And so for me, it is the journey that I've taken in my personal life, understanding that there are a lot of people out there just like me who had no one to teach them. I have a passion for teaching. We consider ourselves the educational financial institution, not because we have a education base, but because we believe that it is our obligation to teach people how to be better stewards of their money. And so I think that is the real core of what drives me, what motivates me, because if I can help one person make a better choice in life, or show empathy towards someone who have fallen along the way, if we can be a mentor to someone, because Lord knows I've had plenty of them, then I feel like I am doing the work that I'm meant to do, and that I appreciate receiving flowers and being recognized. I've always said, If I can touch the life of one person while I'm here on earth, then I will know my life is not in vain. So every day, even though people say, hey, you've made a difference, I still want to touch the life of one more person every day of my life.
Wow, Karen.
Yep. Yep.
Karen.
Mhm. Yeah, you got chills. I got chills.
Mhm. Yes.
You need
Yes,
to go in
yes.
ministry to your next profession.
Yes.
My uncle wanted me to be a minister.
I know that's up. Like you left me speechless too. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. That was beautifully said. Go ahead, Anthony. Sorry.
Oh, you want me to go next? Okay.
Yes.
Shape your decision. I think what shaped my decision on the credit union industry was the phrase people helping people. And Karen has alluded to that. And and it can be a slogan that you use, but you never exercise it. I am proud to be part of an organization that practices people helping people every day, regardless of what level of life that you may be. We not only do it in the financial centers that we have, but we take it to the colleges and the universities throughout Middle Tennessee. And because we understand the importance of being able to make financial decisions to be well informed. So the people helping people thing, you just got to be able to be a recipient of being helped to fully understand what I'm saying. But I just strongly embrace that phrase. And I am proud to be part of an organization that exercises every day that we are in existence. So I'm just honored to be part of this movement, the credit union movement.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. John or Maurice?
Okay, I follow that. Wow. The first time I came to the credit union motto or the credit union was making a positive difference in the life of someone else. And that resonated with me. Just working with people, because before I said I used to work in mutual fund, counting other people money, but come to the credit union, it's all about people helping people. And I reflect back on my life, and I can't recall my parents teaching me how to balance a checkbook or even to manage the little that they had. And so at our credit union, we were a community credit union, but we were hearing stories from stories of folks who were left behind, and just banks and credit union included didn't have the time to educate them, that time to walk them through the process, how to improve their situation. So that pierced my heart to say no one is willing to take the time, because it's not going to bring in revenue, because it's a lot of time you're going to take to guide and nurture someone. But I see that as an investment that it's going to trickle down from generation to generation. And so we change our community charter from a community charter to an underserved, and say, look, these are the folks we want to help out. We welcome everyone, but we're going to specialize in helping folks who keep hearing no, 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 and no one was willing to nurture them and guide them along the way. So we don't say no at American Spirit. We delay the decision. We work along with them. We give them tools that they can actually tap into. And when they tap into those tools and come back with a certificate, then we work along with them. And it's life changing. Another thing that also pierced my heart was there was a credit union, won't call a name, in a sense, that sent members, potential members, to us because they didn't want to serve them. That pierced my heart, because credit union is people helping people. It doesn't matter who you are. Okay, you should be able to help that person to improve their financial situation. And so that's basically what we focus on a daily basis, to make a positive difference in the life of everyone. It doesn't matter who it is, and take that time to make sure that folks understand, and so that way they can turn around and help their family. And we don't advertise; people advertise for us, because when you touch someone and be very impactful in their life, they will share it to their family, friends, and everyone. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Maurice.
So
John?
I will just piggyback on what's been said as far as the philosophy of people helping people. My perspective was shaped. It was 1977. My dad worked for Bethlehem Steel out in Gary, and I remember my dad was part of the big layoff that occurred at that time, and he didn't know what to do, didn't have work, the economy wasn't great, so he went to the Farm Bureau Co-op credit union. And I went with my dad like I always did on the weekends, and we went down, and my dad got a second mortgage on the house to try to make ends meet. And then fast forward 15 years, the credit union I worked for merged that credit union in, and I was given the branch to run of the credit union that my dad had gone to, that helped my dad survive and keep things going and keep things running. And I've always remembered that, just the look on my dad's face. He was a very proud Greek man. I think all of us probably have those stories of our parents, and my grandparents came from Greece, didn't speak the language for many years until I was in school. And just watching how they lived their life and how they did it with, grace and humility and, pride of where they're from. But in our faith, there's a saint, and he would always talk about how you would live your life. And I think it's a lesson for leadership as well. And it's save yourself and 1,000 around you will be saved. And it was talking about living your life and living it in a way that influences people, not because of what you say, but it's about what you do. And that really, I think, embodies a lot of what the credit union movement does. The credit union movement focuses on your members. It focuses on improving their life, and everything we do. And that's the beauty of my role, is I get to preach that from down on Capitol Hill or down in Annapolis, Maryland, and fight that gets recognized and heard, because so often we don't speak to that. I think all of us probably can speak to the point that we're the best kept secret, which
Yes,
is probably the most frustrating phrase in, I think, our credit union movement, when you look at all the incredible work we do to improve the financial well-being of our members, our communities, those that we work with. I think that's what we focus on, and that's how we all live that people helping people, improving the financial well-being of what we do.
absolutely. Thank you, John, for your words. I mean, just really hit the nail on the head. And it is unfortunate that we are one of the best kept secrets. But I think that's the exact thing that's going to keep us relevant through time and keep credit unions at the forefront of making a difference for people, all people. So let's change gears a little bit and talk about advice that you would give your 20-year-old self. This is a fun one. I really like this question because we'd all love to look back with that 2020 vision and say, just like, hey, this is what you need to do. What are some of those things that you would tell?
So when I was 20, I was at a small rural school called Manchester University, that I know Karen and Whitney and John probably know, up in northeast Indiana. So the first thing I would do is I would tell myself what my dad would tell me, like Walter Payton would say, right? If you're good, you're going to tell other people, but if you're great, other people will tell you. So that always helps you stay a little bit humble. But I think I would tell my 20-year-old self is to be comfortable in who you are. And so often it gets in our way trying to be someone else. And I think what you see, and especially from the people that are on this panel today, my colleagues, is that authenticity trumps everything else. That if people are authentic in who they are, that's who you're going to be. I've said this, I think, last year, and I've said this to young professionals about being young is when you go in for that interview, you need to be you. Because if you're trying to be somebody else and you get hired, when you become you eventually, that's not who they hired. So that's the challenge, I believe. And that's what I would tell my 20-year-old self is keep running, don't stop, but be comfortable in who you are.
Thank you, John.
I might go next, Maurice. 20-year-olds, oh wow, flashback. I would say to dream bigger, dream bigger. Based on my upbringing, I was satisfied with the crumbs of life and could be very satisfied with that. But along the way, I learned that if I could go back to 20s and start a dream bigger than I was dreaming, I will be accomplished a lot more. Not only that, I would influence a lot more folks because I was brought up in the inner city and see a lot and choose not to move with the massive. If everyone is going east, I choose to go west because I know it's going to be much better than where everyone else is going. And so I wish I had that big dream, desire to be bigger, do bigger things that I by myself can't do. Okay. Because they said, if you can accomplish your goals based on your effort, it's not big enough. And the second thing is learn how to sell. Because we sell every day.
Yes.
And as John alluded to, I just struggle just to promote myself. And my back has to be against the wall for me to really promote myself or to explain what I've done. And so what I've learned is that selling is just convincing others. Okay, convincing others. And we do it every day without even thinking about it. In a relationship, if you have kids, convince them to eat their vegetables, so on and so forth. And so those two things, I believe, will propel anyone just to dream bigger and to have that confidence in your ability. And you don't have to sell it, but you just make your work speak for itself, and it will open doors for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maurice. Karen or Anthony, would you like to add anything?
I'll jump in. I was trying to be gracious and go last, but honestly, John and Maurice covered a lot of what I
Yes.
tell my 20-year-old self. And really it is to stay the course. You know, I would tell my 20-year-old self, the road that lies ahead is not going to be easy. And there are going to be times when you feel so all alone and that the whole world has just turned against you. But just hold on, stay the course, because 40 years from now, you'll look back at your life and you'll realize that everything was planned. That everything happens for a reason. And the most important thing is not to try to forget the things that happen to you in life, but look for the lessons that can be learned in those things, because it only makes you stronger. Keep believing in yourself, believe in your abilities. I would also give my 20-year-old self the advice that my great uncle gave me when I was 8 years old. He said, always reach for the stars or the moon. And if you don't reach it, if you never grasp it, it's okay. But if you didn't take the risk to try to reach it, then you definitely won't achieve success. And whatever you do, same thing that John said, do it for what it does for others, not what it does for you, because God will always reward you. So I don't have to worry about self. I need to worry about taking care of others because God has my back.
Thank you, Karen.
Um, I would just say anything, I would say anything is possible, but you got to believe, you got to trust your guts and try to take advantage of every opportunity that may come your way because it may only come once in a lifetime. Today's environment is slightly different from the environment that we grew up in. A lot of things a lot of things people don't see. So they just need to be knowledgeable and aware of their surroundings and have the ability to act. Preparation is the key for everything that we do in life. And the young kids today are a little different. The environment in which they're growing up is a lot more difficult than the environments in which we grew up. The speed of it just going in mock speed, the way our society is moving. And people value systems are slightly different now than what the value systems were when we were coming up. But the bottom line is do the right thing, regardless of what generational area in which you're in. So that would be my advice to a 20-year-old because opportunities are unlimited for them.
Oh, thank you, sir. I am, just honored to hear all of the enlightening, thought-provoking conversations that we're having right now and the impact that you're making for our members and communities. When I look around our virtual room today, we have diverse representation. And that's something that's important. I think we have, as a movement or as a society, we've made steps in the right direction, but we still have a long way to go. But what does diverse representation mean to you when you think about that in terms of our industry and the credit union movement, and as we continue to think about the strides that need to be made for all of us?
I
You
think
go.
diverse,
Go,
excuse me.
Go ahead,
Go
Anthony.
ahead.
Oh, I think diversity is absolutely essential. And the nicest compliment that we received, we had a board retreat and we had speakers come in from one of the credit card companies. When they walked into our credit union, they were amazed to see our board makeup. And we were told as a group that was the most diverse board we've ever seen since they've been in the industry in which they were in. The key to everything that you do from a diversity standpoint is not based on race. It's based upon thought. It's based upon mannerism. It's based on so many other different things. And when you have information from all different sources, the bottom line is the decision is going to be a sound decision because people view the world differently. And the way they view the world will make that product the most important product that you have. Our theme as a credit union is to be the most loved financial institution. And that's a big, big phrase. So what is it? Is it because you give back bonus dividends? Is it because you give financial education? We believe that part of that is how you make that person feel when they walk into the financial institution and they feel that they know they're part of the process because every member that we have is part of the credit union movement and it's us against the world. And when I say that, because of the way banks always downplaying credit unions, it's just it's unbelievable the way that this organization has pulled together and it's done it based on diversity, whether it's male, whether it's female, because we all know back in the day, it was predominantly all white male. Mm-hmm. I was the first minority representative on our board. And after that, we have plenty more. We have females, we have males. And what I learned is when people come in with different perspectives, you're going to make a more sound decisions because you're going to identify what some of the pitfalls are, what some of the decisions that were made. And the beauty of a credit union environment, and it's even diversity when it was an all-white board of directors, because people came in from different perspectives. And I think the credit union and the AACU is a beautiful organization, because what it shows is when we work together, we can come up with a finished product that nobody can deny. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful process. And I know it gets attacked a lot now, diversity. At one point, it was quiet, but now it's getting attacked again. But the proof is in the pudding, because where we are as an industry is based upon diversity of thought, mind, and all other things that go along with it. So I'm firmly 100% behind diversity. And I hope, and it's here to stay. It's here to stay. It's here to stay. And I think the credit union industry has been one of the biggest industries that have led that particular effort, and is shown today with the representation that we have on this panel.
Thank you.
Okay, for the interest of time, I'm just going to go through this fast. So bear with me. Diversification means a lot to me. I always say that I'm colorblind, and let me explain what this means. Because the first time I said that, someone wanted to crucify me. I said, yeah, I'm colorblind. I see people for who they are and what they can become. Okay, I'm always curious to learn different cultures from others. I was born and grew up in Jamaica, so I have Chinese friends, Indian friends, Italian, German, you name it, everyone. And therefore, I didn't see a difference. We believe that we were capable, we're in the same playing field, we were capable to do anything just as the rich and famous can. Just give us a chance and opportunity, and we make the best use of it. But true love for humanity is the key to diversification. Okay, where you welcome and embrace everyone, doesn't matter how different they are, they're God's child. Okay, so you embrace them and then love them. Having a diversified setting creates a solid foundation to success. You can learn from each other, you can see through their eyes, and make a better decision. And when you make a better decision, okay, you're gonna have a better product and you're gonna have a better result. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Maurice. We have just a couple minutes left if Karen or John would like to say a few words.
If you don't mind, John,
Sure.
I'll jump in here. So for me, as Anthony pointed out, I can remember in the industry walking in and being the only one in the room, the only person of color, and quite often the only female. And I will add to that, I'm also the only person with a disability. So for me, diversification is important because, as I said, I serve a community that has very low self-esteem. I want my children, my grandchildren to look up and say, hey, the glass ceiling does not exist. There is a way for me to be fairly represented, for me to succeed and move on in life. There are people here who are willing to help me and to help me achieve something that in my community, even the children's parents tell them it's not possible. So it's important to me to make sure that we level the playing field, that people are treated as human beings first, because that's what we all are. And we need to treat each other with respect and love. And I think that if we exemplify that and we lead by examples, then my prayer is that others will follow. A long time ago, I stopped looking at the news because I got so tired of seeing people that look like me being portrayed in a negative light. And I said, I know that there are good people of color in the world. And so it's important to me because I just think that there are so many forces out there that would lead you to believe that there's only one group of good people in this world. And I think that it's up to us to show everybody that we're all equal, we're all human, we all have something good inside of us, and we can be a source of encouragement and we can change the narrative of this world today. I'm hoping for a better tomorrow for my grandchildren.
Thank you. And I'd just really like to extend, once again, my gratitude to each of you. Um, I think there were a couple really just key things that came out of today that I know everyone, I've been looking at the chat, it's been blowing up, but just a couple of those key things that I just wanted to kind of bring full circle for all of us. And it starts with taking the time. And that is respect, Karen, just as you just touched on, but taking the time to educate one another, making a positive difference in the lives of someone else, grace and humility, striving to touch someone's life, having the opportunity to be yourself and define your own success. And I love that we don't say no, we're just going to figure out how to get you there, and just taking the time to do that. And that really brings us right back around to people helping people and why we're all here, why the credit union industry makes such a difference for individuals, for our communities. And it's just so inspiring to see the impact that each of you has made. As I started out with this conversation saying, this is our opportunity to give you your flowers, and how much that means to each of the people that are here today and that will be here on March 5th. Your words, your legacy has been clearly defined today. And so just want to thank each of you again for that. I'm going to pass it back over to SB to close this out today and just say thank you to Miss Renee as well for all of her just amazing work that she does for the AACUC and for the board of directors that also, and the team at AACUC, who just gives of their time and their heart to make such a difference.
May I add one thing about people helping people, since you mentioned that? To me, people helping people is based on diversity. Even before Mr. Maurice Smith made it become one of the principles of the credit union. But people helping people is based on diversity principles.
Thank you. You're
Thank you so
absolutely
much.
right.
Well, thank you all so much. It's unfortunate we're running out of time, and we start on time and we end on time. So thank you to our panelists. Miss Whitney, thank you so much for being our incredible moderator for today. For all of you, yes, you heard it. We do have our Hall of Fame induction ceremony happening in Washington, D.C. during GAC on March 5th. I did pop in the link so you can check out all the other events that we have, including our special CTC that kicks off Women's History Month, as well as our March CTC. So we hope to have you join us. With that, I say happy Friday and have a wonderful weekend, everyone.